Hello, it's Mama Jess. Today I was given this oddball shaped cabbage from a gardener in the neighborhood, and I'm going to make sauerkraut out of it. So I'm just going to walk you through that process and how I do it. I'm sure there's 1,000 million cabbage videos online that you can check out, but if you're following along with me and the things I've learned, this is how I do it. So I weighed this out, 5 pounds. So this is a very dense cabbage. Just based on the feel of it for me, I'm gonna cut it in 2 and do 2 mason jars. Okay, so usually 1 medium-sized cabbage equals 1 mason jar of kraut. But because of the weight of this, and I have worked with these things long enough that I can just feel it and I go, that's pretty heavy. So I'm gonna split this into 2 jars. So let's split this in half. So I begin by peeling out the outer leaves that are clearly, they've been marred and broken, and some parts seem almost like they're rotting a little bit. But I use this for something later, so I'll show you how I'm going to use that bit. And that's a good idea to keep a compost bucket close at hand. Okay, I'm gonna wash it just a little bit more. Sometimes you're gonna find slugs and bugs on the inside, which is a good sign that it's not pesticide ridden. When I begin to slice a cabbage, I create angles, and I'll show you what that means, okay? Like, I'm not just going to cut this way the whole way, okay? Because depending on the size of the cabbage, my knife can't actually cut that far unless I'm doing this kind of big sweeping movement. So I create angles. And as soon as I see a peak of a triangle, I cut at that angle. You want the slicing to be uniform and symmetrical as much as possible. You don't want to have a really big piece and really small pieces, because while it's fermenting, you want everything to ferment at the same rate. Some people do it real thin. I'm doing it a little bit thicker today. You can also run this through a food processor. I'm sure there's all kinds of gizmos nowadays, but we'll do this cutting for you. Okay, and you get down to this chunk here. This is very hard. It's hard to get through. But I do save it because I'm going to use it at the end, and I'll show you what I do with this. Okay, sometimes I look through, I see if there's anything else that could be cut down a little bit more. I just look for any really big pieces that need to, like that's really big, right? So I'd have to deal with that. There's another big piece. Okay, now I'm going to chop the other one, and I'm going to be putting them both in a big bowl. Okay, they've both been sliced. So again, my recipe is very simple. 1 to 1 to 1. 1 medium-sized cabbage, 1 mason jar, 1 tablespoon salt. And I wanted to show you that I'm using salt that I collected in Mendocino, California, on the coast there. So this is a neat little thing for you to see. This is real salt that I harvested. Again, you can add a couple tablespoons of caraway seed to this if you like the flavor. So now this becomes the kind of the mashing. Now a lot of people will use a pounder. I find that I prefer my hands. And I am breaking the cellulose of this cabbage down. It's like you're bruising it because you want the cabbage juice to release. Okay, so as I'm working this, I'm feeling the moisture starting to release because the salt is extracting the juices as well. I recommend doing this with a cabbage that has been slightly warmed outside of the refrigerator, because if it's too cold, it can be hard on your hands, and the juice doesn't want to release as easily. This is an old pounder that I had, so people do this too, but I don't prefer it. But you certainly can find what works for you. So as you learn this process, you're going to start feeling how it's transforming. So I can feel that there's a moisture, there's a suppleness to the cabbage, starting to feel more pliable. And at this point, I'm gonna let it sit and allow the salt to start extracting the juices. So if there's flies in your kitchen, cover it with a cloth. And then I'm gonna come back in about 10 minutes. Okay, we're back. So if you can take a good look at this, what's happening is the cabbage is starting to look more translucent. Okay, it is very wet. Okay. So when you can squeeze a fistful and it is dripping like this, that means it is ready to be put into the mason jars. And you can see all the liquid that's forming at the bottom. Okay, so now we're gonna pack this, and you don't want any air. Okay, so as I'm going, I'm packing, squishing out all the air best I can. I'm not gonna pack this one all the way full because I'm not exactly certain of how much I have, and I'd like this to be split between two. So I'm gonna try to make 2 jars that are roughly the same size. So I'm using my knuckle, kind of push, push. Okay, good. So that's definitely symmetrical there, so pop them both off. And this is great. I've got plenty of juice. I'm not gonna have to make a saline solution. Wait, might be too much. Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna put this on a plate. So sauerkraut juice is pretty precious. Okay, so I don't want to lose any of that as I'm packing this down. Some people swear by these kinds of things. This actually is a votive for a candle, and you just place it down in because you need to have the liquid going over the cabbage. But what if you don't have this? Okay, that's where this is the trick. It's the cheapest trick. And I use this almost exclusively now because I only have one of these and I'm not going to buy more. Okay. So I place the cabbage here, and you need it to be placed, you need like just enough cabbage pressure that the lid is going to hold it down. You can also fold the leaves and create that same kind of pressure. You can also use a stone. Okay, I found these down at the river, and that works just as well. Just make sure they're washed and there's no grit in them. Okay. This is not ketchup anymore. All right, so this is like the 37th time I've tried to do this last little portion of the video, and I'm getting a little bit frustrated right now. But I'm just gonna keep going. And if I mess up in this video, I'm gonna keep going. And that's it, because I'm not doing this one more time. Okay, so we're coming to the end of making sauerkraut. You will want to label the date that you made it. During the burping phase, which is like 4 to 5 days, I keep it in the refrigerator, no, keep it in the kitchen on a non-corrosive plate, because the plate is gonna catch any of the weeping brine material. I mean, honestly, I cannot do this video. Keep going. Okay. So I'm wanting to monitor these during the burping process. I need to make sure the pressure is not too tight. I need to make sure that this brine is not weeping over, because if it is, I have to top it off with a brine solution. Okay. When the burping phase is over, I'm going to trade out the lid, because these naturally weep and can evaporate a lot of liquid quickly. These are tighter, they don't evaporate so much. But I don't like these because oftentimes they corrode, and they can get so corroded onto the jar that you cannot take them off. So my remedy is to put in some parchment paper, maybe seal it either down on the kraut to keep that brine separated from the lid, or you can just slip it into the lid, and then I'll put a little bit of oil on the inside of the lid and on the outside of the jar, and that'll make it like a nice smooth on and off. Okay, so my kitchen in the summer is way too hot. It's like 80 or 90 degrees. So I take it down to our cooler food storage, which is between 60 and 65.
Did I say that you need to make sure that you fill up the brine for sure before you take it down there to make sure it covers the kraut, or else it'll spoil? Did I say that? No, I didn't. You do that before you put this lid on and take it down there. It's falling apart. It's falling apart, but I don't want to do it one more time. So what's next? I don't know. Jessica has no idea. So she's got the lid on. She put more brine in. The brine solution is 1 pint to a half teaspoon salt. You move it down to the cool storage. It's going to be there between 1 to 6 weeks, or like me, you'll just forget about it. So you're going to want to taste it at each week to see what you prefer. At 1 week, it's going to be crunchy and not so sour. At 6 weeks, it's going to be more soft and very sour. But again, I usually forget. And what happens is it's so much moisture evaporates that the top part kind of changes color. It's discolored and weird tasting. But if you just scrape that top off, you can eat what's below. So there's always a way to salvage your forgetfulness. Okay, then after that, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna put it in the refrigerator. Okay? You're gonna put it in a cold storage. If you have a root cellar, a refrigerator, that's what I do. Okay, and then this is best with sausage and meat. It's my favorite. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, so enjoy to your health. Don't be scared of bacteria. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time, and I'll talk with you soon. Okay.